you can't talk a lot about it, but I know you do pray with him on a daily basis. He compared himself this week to Jack Johnson, Muhammad Ali, and Nelson Mandela. Now, as a civil rights leader who has really faced the battlements, I mean, you were there with Martin Luther King when he was shot. You marched. I mean, you faced the fire hoses. This has got to bother you. Just the way Kobe Bryant was out of line when he compared himself and used a Martin Luther King quote. He said, an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. And, you know, Martin Luther King said that when he was confronting racism in jail in Alabama. Kobe was confronting some knee cartilage and trying to get some affirmative action in Colorado. This must upset you when people take this when it's really not a racial issue.
Well, Michael feels himself to be persecuted, but I think the context of the statement was simply this. We all love Nelson Mandela tonight. For 27 years, we saw him as a terrorist. We've loved him since 1990. We all love Dr. King today. He was killed as one of America's most hated men with the target on his back. We all love Jack Johnson now. He was locked in the ring because of his race. And so the point is, whether you are Jack Johnson or Paul Robeson or Martin King or Mandela, seemingly when blacks hit very high spots, they're in a line of fire. Michael perceives himself to be in that line, and that's the basis of his statement. Now, whether he's persecuted or not, well, in the end, we'll see. What I do know about the Michael case, I prayed with him, I've known him since he was 6 years old, is that when a sheriff goes into somebody's house with 70 armed guards, as if they're facing armed resistance, and then ransack their house and destroy their paintings, their art, their furniture, and then take those items and give them to the press, have a press come outside their house and say, all who may be witness, come and let's testify. That's unusual. Michael, like others, deserved dignity and due process. I think at that level he was denied it.
Okay. Reverend Jackson, I know this was hard for you back there in Chicago after all your difficult week and your time down there. I really appreciate you taking time out for us as always. Thank you. Reverend Jesse Jackson, everybody. What do you think about that? I mean, it seems like these cases are not really race.
You have to understand. You have to understand. It is a different world. It is a different world. It's not just the world of celebrity, but also for Michael, a lot of what's happening to him is because he's vastly different than everybody else.
But is it because he's black?
In part, yes.
Really? If this was country singer Alan Jackson sleeping with
young
boys?
You know what? I know in my heart that I don't want to say that race is a factor in our lives, but it actually is. And oftentimes, it is easier, and I don't mean this in any disrespectful way, it is oftentimes easier for white people to go, now come on, because they don't know. Because it's little tiny.
I agree with that.
It's little.
But not him.
So why not him?
Everybody but him.
The problem.
One is that Elvis's daughter, child. People threw themselves out the window.
But sister, Whoopi, that Robbins Island is a different place to Neverland. You know what I mean? So that race can matter, but you've got to count your language in such a way that somehow you don't confuse the gravitas of one situation vis-a-vis another. So if race might still be a factor among a whole host of other factors, but you invoke Nelson Mandela, 27 years in prison. What are you talking about? But that's the problem. The Whoopi's point is still there, but she is going to have to
But you know what it is?
Yeah.
Whenever people want to make a huge point, they use the most obvious person. They have to. Because if he said, listen, I'm, you know, as good as, you know, I don't know who to say because I know y'all won't know who the fuck I'm talking about. But, you know, is it wrong for him to compare? I don't think he was saying, I'm this person, I'm this person. I think what he was saying.
But he's played that race card before. He did it with...
The race card is played every day.
But you notice on the subject of racism, these two, they just don't want the white man to have his say here. Please not let me open my mouth here.
We're trying to save your ass. We're trying to save you because you got a system right before you get your ass.
He's gonna speak right now.
I just wanted to say that I think
Michael,
he's a dumbass that he put himself in that
93.
position.
The first year he was talked about.
You should have known people were going to go after his money.
93 was the first
They're soaking
time.
him.
Why would, now see, if somebody touched my kid or I thought somebody touched my kid, I would break every bone in their body.
Do it with me, do it with me.
I would toss them, I would beat the hell out of them. There's not enough money you could pay me
Here's your gun control.
to make it okay. So how come these parents allow this, just getting away from Michael for a second, because to me, you couldn't do that to my kid. You could not pay me enough money. I would not bring my child to you because if I think you're going to touch him, I'm going to kill you.
I just feel like when you, I agree with you that it's both, but what I really think is it for a guy that had all that power at his disposal, Neverland had everything but a good screening policy.
Yeah.
The wrong people got in there, you know what I mean?
All Michael's got to say is, I want to make sure I have a fair trial.
Yeah.
Period.
I think he's getting one. You know. Okay.
Oh, yeah,
Step by
right,
step
okay.
to proceed.
What, you don't think he's getting a fair trial?
Has he ever been in?
What happened?
Has he ever been to court yet? Every time I look, he's sleepy in the bed.
No, he's been to court. All right. The other kid touching story.